So there was this book, and it was about this girl, and I think she had ESP. I know that she always knew who was calling or who was at the door, and that's all I remember. When I was in elementary school, I read voraciously. I read before school, I read during recess, I read after school, I read during class, I read all the time. I was a typical bookworm. And I read a lot of books. I didn't have a Goodreads, I didn't have a list of books I was reading. I don't remember a lot of the books. But I have these scenes in my head, you know? I remember there was this girl who went outside and she looked up at this icicle and the icicle fell and hit her in the face. And the next thing she knew, she was waking up in a hospital bed. I also remember a story about a girl being trapped in an avalanche and how she spit to see which way was up and she dug her way out. And I feel like it was the same book, but that seems really unlikely. Wow, Snow must be out to get her if that was the same book. I also remember the story about this girl who was a part of these historical reenactments, and they were doing historical deaths. I remember she had a little sibling. I don't remember if it was a boy or a girl, but her sibling was really excited because they got to act out this death scene and they got to scream really dramatically. And the lead girl was portraying Joan of Arc, and her sibling was like, "Would you get to scream?" And she was like, "I don't think Joan of Arc screamed when she was burned at the stake. I think she probably prayed." And I really liked that idea. I like this scene that I have in my head. I have no idea what the book was from, and that is not enough to go on to Google for it. I have an idea that it was a ghost story. I was really into ghost stories at the time. I don't really remember. This to me is a great tragedy, that I have all these books that I know I loved. I remember things about them, but I don't remember enough to find them and reread them. At the same time, I'm glad I have these. I believe that we are all made up of the books that we read, and all of these little scenes create this mosaic that is me. Even though I can't remember the individual books, I'm still influenced by them, and there's magic in that, you know? That everything you read can influence you in some way. Still, I would love to go back to my elementary school library. It's one of my favorite places in all the world. I lived there 3rd through 5th grade. Every recess I would help tape broken books back together, and I would just explore those shelves, and to me it was magical. I could read anything in there. It was complete freedom to explore all these worlds. It was the first library that I felt like I was really a part of it, and it was a part of me. Books are magical. They are a part of us, and we're a part of them somehow. I know that these little tiny scraps of scenes have influenced me as a person, and especially as a writer. And I just think that's so cool. Books are proof that humans are capable of creating magic, and I love that. So do you have little fragments of stories that you remember but can't quite place what book it was from? Let me know as a comment. Maybe we can together try and figure out what these books were. What books do you feel are a part of you? Do you have a special place where your love of reading was born? Let me know as a comment. I would love to discuss this. I just find books so amazing, guys. Thanks for watching, and happy reading. I also remember the story about this girl who was doing I can do this. I also remember a story about this girl who was a part of these historical reenactments. I also remember a story about this girl who was a part of these